right, good morning. Another Sunday and another Facebook Live. And today I'm just going to jump into it. But talking too much. What happens when you encounter someone at work or in another aspect of your life and they're talking too much? And what if that person is yourself? Like, why does this happen? Um, Sometimes these people just have a lot of things to say. Um, they are maybe not aware or ignorant of the other person in the conversation, and they're just focused on themselves. Um, Conversation is an interaction between two people, right? Where one uh, delivers a message and the other listens, and vice versa. So, about 50-50 contribution. Not in all cases, but, a general um, statement there. Rather than paying attention or listening to the other person, the person who talks too much, they're just gonna take over the conversation. And I think this is, being selfish, right? So the conversation should be more about listening than about talking. They're not focused on the other person, rather they're focused on themselves. And when you're focused on yourself, you again, you're not listening, and you're not demonstrating empathy and patience, right? Just allowing the other person to contribute to the conversation, or making an effort to understand that they may have something to say, or they're feeling a certain way, and you need to take that into consideration, right? The person who keeps talking too much is, selfish. They're just focused on themselves, right? Their own feelings, their own ideas, their own thoughts are more important than the other person, right? Like sometimes when we talk a lot, it's because we may be nervous, right? We just want to feel that silence, or just to calm ourselves down. So we just keep talking and talking and talking. It could be the same for the other person as well. Right? It's easier for us to keep talking rather than to pay attention and to really actively listen to that other person. Again, in most conversation, each person may contribute equally, and it's an exchange of ideas and messages and questions, right? If you ask a question, you have to give the other opportunity for that person to answer. If you're asked a question, you need the opportunity to answer as well. So really, how the conversation goes depends on how you interact in the conversation. And again, what do you do if that other person keeps talking and talking? Well, first off, have you dealt with this person multiple times and it's the same behavior? If it's a one-off, give them the benefit of the doubt. But if it's continual behavior, you really need to, and it's really bothering you, you can choose to ignore it, or you can choose to do something about it, right? And hopefully most of you that are here, you rather do something about it than to sit back and just accept it. So number one, have you talked to this person about it? Do they realize that they do this in the first place? Do they realize the impacts of talking too much in every situation? Right? If you may be doing them a favor by telling them that they do this, right? We all have blind spots, and because we have blind spots, we don't know that they exist. And this person may not know that they are habitually talking too much all the time, and may not be giving other people a chance. You may be doing them a favor, right? To tell them that they are doing this. Number two, you need to set the ground rules. Again, if you constantly deal with this person and they're constantly talking too much, set the ground rules, right? And in order to establish control of the conversation, indicate that there is a time limit. That when you're talking to this person, you only have 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and hopefully they can understand that they need to get to their point as quickly as possible, right? Even if they forget, you can remind them that I indicated to you that I only had 5 minutes to talk. Let's make the best use of our time, right? And it sets by setting the ground rules, it gives you justification to maybe interrupt the other person or ask them to stop, and to um, tell whatever it is they need to tell you in a more clear fashion, right? Another way, a third, is like to use guiding questions. Again, This person may not be aware that they're talking too much, so it might keep rambling on, maybe on topic, maybe they're off topic. By using guiding questions, you want to get to the core of whatever they're trying to tell you is, right? Um, Again, you need to be direct here, right? You can ask them, what do you hope to achieve by our conversation? What do you need from me? And what are you trying to tell me? Is there something that you are having a problem with and you need me to solve? Or do you need my advice? Or you need my tips, opinions? Like, what are you looking for? Right? You need to be direct, but try to be polite about it. Again, this person is using your time, and time is precious. Once it's spent, you'll never get your time back. So you have the right to make the best use of your time by telling this person and guiding them with your questions to get to their core of their message. Fourth, this person keeps talking and talking, but they need to take a breath eventually, and this is the opportunity for you to interject, right? So when there's a slight pause, however short it may be, this is your opportunity to like jump in and to start talking, right? So in between their breaths, you just add to the conversation, and hopefully you get a chance to speak. If they happen to interrupt you while you're talking, just tell them, hey, could you please let me finish? Right? Again, you need to be direct. You have to have some courage here, right? Um, to be able to say things like this. Again, if they try to interrupt you, just say, hey, please, could you please let me finish? Right? Hopefully they are polite as well and abide by your request. And I would say the last thing is related to being direct is, you gotta just tell the other person to stop talking. Again, your time is precious, right? Especially if you're in a, time constrained situation or you have other important things to do. That other person, if they're not getting to the point, tell them to stop or interrupt and say, hey, like, what do you want? Right? Be direct. If they're, in my case, if I were to tell someone this, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, in most instances, I'll try to be polite, but again, if they're using up my time, I'm just gonna be direct, tell them to stop, and it doesn't matter like what they feel or if they feel hurt or what their feelings are or how they feel about me, right? Again, what's your priority? What's more important to you? How they feel about you or your time and your energy? 9 times out of 10, I want to choose that my time is precious because that can never be recovered, right? Once time is spent, it's gone forever. Whereas, someone gets insulted or hurt for that one moment in time, they'll recover, right? If they truly are, your colleague, your friend, your family member, a professional, you know what? They'll recover, right? And I wouldn't worry about it, right? Again, my time is precious, and so is yours. So what if you're the person that talks too much? Like, so number one is you need to really be aware that you're doing this and evaluate yourself. Like, when does this happen? I mentioned that some people tend to talk a lot when they're nervous. Are you nervous all the time when you're talking to one or more people and you just need to fill that silence? You don't like things being quiet, and by talking a lot, not only do you fill the room with sounds, you're also calming yourself down, right? If you realize that you do this when you're nervous, maybe it's time to try another strategy, right? Maybe you tend to interrupt other people. You just keep talking and talking, and if someone tries to interject, you talk over them. Well, again, you got to be aware that this is happening. Again, if you know that this is happening, how do you think that other person feels? I'm sorry to say, but you're probably being rude here and inconsiderate. I mentioned that a conversation in most cases is like a 50-50 situation, right? Where one person listens and the other person speaks. Again, you're being rude. You're not demonstrating awareness or empathy or patience, right? Why is it that you need to talk all the time? You're all focused on yourself. Maybe if the other person is very quiet and just tends to say nothing, you can prod and ask questions, right, to get them to speak. But in the end, if you keep talking and talking, I feel that you are not demonstrating empathy, understanding how that other person feels or thinks, right? If they keep getting interrupted and you're talking all the time and they never get a chance to um, bring up their own ideas, their thoughts, their opinions, Talking too much is part of a conversation, and having a conversation, I said, it also involves listening, right? So when I say listening, you have to be focused and pay attention, right? If that person does happen to have a chance to speak, and in your mind you're busy thinking of how you feel or your opinions of what they're saying, or just talking to yourself in your head about the conversation, or maybe about something else, like, when you're gonna go for lunch later. You're not fully there in the present in the conversation. You're not paying attention to the other person, right? Again, feel this is rude, and you're not displaying empathy again, right? In the conversation, it's a give and take. Here, you're not giving anything. You're just taking and taking and taking by not paying attention. You have to listen actively in order to make that conversation very worthwhile. So if you're constantly thinking about other things as the other person talks, you're gonna miss out on parts of the conversation. There could be important facts, or opinions that you may be missing because you're busy inside your own head having your own conversation rather than being present in the moment and listening to the other person. It's rude, right? Not only are you talking too much, and talking over people and interrupting is rude, I feel that it's also rude by not listening, right? That person is talking to you because they feel like you're going to listen and that you're going to contribute and hopefully help them out, or do what they're asking or answer a question. If you're not listening, you're never going to do that. Maybe you catch part of it, you act on it, but you'll never fully be there, or maybe do it 100% correctly because you weren't paying attention, right? So I talked about like two situations where the other person can be talking too much, or you can be talking too much. So to summarize, if the other person talks too much, and this is a person you deal with constantly over time, you need to tell them to stop, right? Set the ground rules, right? And take control of the conversation, right? You can question them, right? Guide the questions for them to get to their point, or question them like, why do you feel like you need to talk to other people? What are you accomplishing? Why do you do this? And make them think about it. And if they continue to do this and do not correct their behavior, again, that's on their plate. It's their responsibility. I always say that, I'm never someone's parent telling them what to do. It's their own choice, right? To choose not to talk too much all the time, right? And it's up to you whether or not you want to deal with that person, regardless of what you or other people may think, right? You have a choice. You always have a choice. Right? And lastly, if you're the person that's talking too much, think about why you're doing this. Like, in what situations are you doing this? And what other strategies can you do to mitigate this behavior, this rude behavior, right? Again, a conversation is listening and talking, right? But in equal amounts, hopefully, right? So if you're talking too much or you're not even listening, you're being rude, right? So again, here, a conversation is the foundation of building trust and relationships with other person. And when it is out of balance, in this case by someone talking too much, you're never going to be able to accomplish it. The goals of your conversation. You're never going to build that trust. You never build that relationship, and you're throwing away one of the most critical tools that you need to do in order to further your life and your career and your business. All right, that's it from me. Keeping it short. Topic was talking too much. Hopefully you found that of use. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help you. All right, take care. Goodbye.